mission here is to help raise the rate of home ownership 75% for all. Some of the things we're offering is credit remediation, micro mortgage financing, down payment assistant, credit builder assistant, and agent matching. Tonight's topic is the basics of investing with our guest speaker, Mr. Andrew Mallory. Here's a short bio. He's a financial advisor for Prime America Advisors, registered principal for PFS Investments, Inc., Bachelor of Arts degree, double major, accounting and business administration, Flagler College, nearly 18 years of experience in financial service sector, over 12 years of experience in the tax accounting sector. So without further ado, here's our guest speaker, Mr. Mallory.
Thank you so much, Sade. It's a pleasure being on with you all tonight. And for those of you that weren't on last time, you have the pleasure of getting a recap, okay? So we're going to talk about the basics of investing. And last time ran a little long, so I wasn't able to get to everything this time. We're going to make sure that we get all the bases covered. As you see, I do have the background. So I'm not just someone on the internet that's just out here giving you information. And I'm also held to a higher standard. If I give you the wrong information, you can report me to FINRA, and that would go as a negative against me. So I have an incentive to make sure I'm giving you information that you can actually benefit from. So let me share my screen. And one of you all, once I share my screen, can you let me know that you can see it so I can make sure I'm in the right spot? Give me 1 second. Can someone see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Excellent. Okay. So just so you know, I'm sure you'll more than likely be excited about this information I share with you all. Here's my contact information. I'll have it again at the end, but please take out a pen and paper. If you get nothing else down, make sure you get my name and phone number. My phone number is 850-590-5983. That's my direct cell number. So throughout this, if you have any questions or you need some more information, you can just text me your name and say more information, or you can text me your name and say ready to invest. Once you get through with this information, you see how important it is, okay? And once again, I'll have that information again at the end for you all, okay? So we're going to dive right in with the basics of investing. And just to give you a quick overview, so there's 3 Ds that I like to preach or teach and preach regarding investing. The first one is discipline. The second one is diversification. And the third one is dollar cost averaging, okay? And so we'll dive a little bit deeper into some of those, into all 3 of those here shortly. But let's dive in first to show you why you want to get started with investing. We want to talk about a very important rule called the rule of 72, okay? And so the rule of 72 was made popular by Albert Einstein, okay? And Albert Einstein, what he said, if you take the interest rate that you're earning, you divide that interest rate into the number 72, you'll be able to approximate the number of years it will take your money to double, okay? So Sade, I just gave you 10,000. Shanaze, I just gave you 10,000. Africa, I just gave you $10,000, okay? So you all are trying to decide where you want to put your money. You have that. You can do 3, 6, or 12%. And this is just an example. Okay, I'm not really giving you $10,000, but let's say you had that. Okay, so after you go to a bank and they're offering you 3%, you're super excited about that because we all know right now most banks aren't even paying 1%. All right. So after you take your 10,000, you put that in the bank. You want to know how long it's going to take that money to double. What you do, 3 goes into 72 24 times. So it takes your money 24 years to double once, okay? So now you got $20,000 at the end of 24 years. It's gonna take it another 24 years to double again. So now at the end of 48 years, you've got $40,000. How many of you can retire off of $48,000 or $40,000? I don't know anybody that can, right? Most of us will hope to make that more than that in a year, right? So let's double that rate of return. So using that same rule of 72, all right? 6 goes into 72, 12 times. All right. So now at the end of that same 48-year span of time, your money doubled. It doubled not once, not twice, not three, but 4 times. So at the end of that same period of time, now you're sitting at $160,000. It's a lot better than that 40,000 that we had with the 3%, right? And now Shanae, she takes her 10,000, she goes and she invests that money, all right? And she gets a rate of return of 12%, okay? And so looking at that, now you take that same 10,000, 12 goes into 72 6 times. So that means your money's going to double every 6 years. So they all started out with the same 10,000, but at the end, because of the rate of return that they were earning, they were able to, you see the end outcome at the end of the same time frame, 48 years. So now Shanae, she's sitting on over $2.5 million. So the crazy part about this is that, you know what? A lot of us, we're not investing, okay? Especially in our community, okay? And so you think about the Guardian, they put out a report saying that by the year 2053, the African American net worth was going to be at a net of 0, okay? And a huge part of that problem is because of the fact we're not taking advantage of the opportunity to invest. So I'm doing my part to make sure, I'm on a mission to make sure I can help us all be able to get in the market and invest, okay? Another huge part of this is you're thinking about, if you're here, listen to the news and watching news right now, what they talking about. Are we in a recession? Are we not in a recession? Well, I think more than likely we are in a recession. But one of the biggest things about a recession, and you're also hearing about the Fed hiking interest rates. So they're pushing rates up, which means it's going to cost more for you to be able to borrow money for your mortgages, for your credit cards. When you're paying back those, any balances that you take out on your credit cards, that means you're going to pay more, right? And so how do you hedge against inflation and make that go down, right? You make sure that you're investing, because most times the amount that you're investing is going to earn more interest than what you will pay if you just borrow money off of credit cards and so forth. So the few questions I always ask people after I show them the rule of 72, I say, how do you win a game if you don't know the rules to the game? You can't, you won't, all right? Who would benefit from learning this rule? Every single person that you and I know, all right? Shouldn't we have learned this rule in school? Yes. But you know what? They have a lot more important things they feel more important, like making sure we can pass standardized tests with skills that we don't necessarily use once we get out of school, right? All right. And then lastly, without introducing us to your family and friends, how would they ever learn the rule of 72? They won't. So if you take nothing else away from this, make sure you understand this. Okay, Albert Einstein, he also said this. He said, compound interest is the most powerful force in the universe. He who understands it, he earns it, but he who doesn't, he pays it. So which side of that spectrum do you want to be on? Give you a better option or perspective of what that looks like. So there's 2 main debt cycles going right along with the rule of 72. So if you're on the he who pays it side of the debt cycle with the rule of 72, you're living paycheck to paycheck. You're paying your debts off. You're paying debts, using, like, you'll pay off one credit card and then accrue debts on another. You spend more than you make on a monthly basis. Or another thing, you borrow to maintain your standard of living. All right. So the other side of rule of 72, he who earns that interest, that rule of 72, that person that's investing, how they control their finances. How do they do that? They're debt free. Let's start there. Secondly, they're paying with cash instead of borrowing. And thirdly, they have investments, they have savings, and they have assets that are generating additional income for them. All right. And so the crazy part about it, that of all the threats to your financial security, none of them are more dangerous than debt, which is why so many people are out trying to help you to get your debt under control. Okay. And so the solution that we've come up with at Primerica, we've come up with a 3-step solution. So step 1, you have to learn how to invest, which is what you're learning here today. So how you do that, you pay yourself first, all right? You do that by setting up the 3 fundamental accounts, which I'll talk about here in a second. Next thing you want to do, you want to accelerate the paying off of your debt. you want to set up a debt stacking program, which is free to do with us, okay? So we literally come up with all your debts that you have remaining after you get through figuring out what you have, you get all your interest rates, so forth, and we list them out. We figure out how much you owe, what you're paying on a monthly basis, and then we come up with a way for you to pay that off in a much shorter span of time, which we'll show you here shortly, okay? And then lastly, make sure to protect your income because it's going to take time to get those debts paid off. It's also going to take time to get your investments, your nest egg for your investments up to where you need to be so you can live and you can actually retire and never have to go back to work again and live off of the interest that their money's making, okay? And so you want to make sure that your income that you're earning right now is protected. We do that through life insurance. And it helps you to make sure that you're able to build a financial independence for yourself and your family in the future. All right. And so diving a little bit deeper into the step one, the 3 fundamental accounts, this covers the first D of investing I talked about, discipline. Okay. So write that down. First D is discipline. And so what we want to do with that, the 3 fundamental accounts, the first fundamental account is the emergency fund, your emergency account. All right. The goal is to have up to 3 months of your income for purchases within 0 to 2 years that you might have, okay? In the event that an emergency popped up, okay? And so with this amount, how do you figure out how much you need to have in there? So you write down your annual income at the top of your paper, and then you divide that number by 4. Now that amount that you have after you divide your annual income by 4, that's the 3 months of income that you'll need to have in your emergency account before you know that you're pretty much in a good place and you're set to be able to keep moving forward, okay? And then that takes care of emergencies. You think about any uncovered medical expenses that maybe, how many of us go to the doctor or to the hospital and we think that our insurance covers it all, but it really doesn't, right? You end up getting those bills in the mail later on. And rather than having to swipe a credit card, you have those funds sitting in your emergency account. So just a quick example, if you make $50,000 a year, or if you make $100,000 a year, for say 3 months of your income, you think about that, you divide that, that's going to be a good chunk of money. You're not going to be expected to be able to have all that in there at once, but as long as you're hammering away at it over time, which I'll show you how we do that here shortly, you'll get there eventually, okay? Any major car repairs you have, that's another thing that you'll be able to cover, okay? So that's the emergency account. That's the first of the 3 fundamental accounts we make sure you have set up. And that just goes into a money market account, something that you have access to. It's liquid, it's available, it's not being invested into the market, okay? All right, and then the next fundamental account that we have is your short-term account, okay? And with the short-term account, the ultimate goal is to have up to 6 months of your income for purchases within 3 to 5 years. So you take your annual income, you divide that by 2. All right. So now, if you're making 50,000, you need to have about 25,000 in your short-term account. This money is being invested. We'll show you how in a little bit. Okay. All right, so what would this cover? This is going to cover your reserves for unforeseen events. You think about AC breaks down at your house when you're a homeowner now, or you're working to become a homeowner, or you have a new roof you got to put on the house. That could be $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, depending on how big your home is, right? Or any other type of expense like that, okay? You lose your job, you need to be able to replace your income while you're out looking for employment. You don't want to be in a situation where you're just taking the next job that comes along and it's not really the job you want because you don't have the money to keep yourself afloat till you find a job that you really want that's paying you what you feel like you're really worth. Okay. And so it gives you a sense of security to know that I have a safety net. All right. And then next up, you have a down payment for a house. So as I said before, a lot of you on here, you're looking to purchase a home. And so being able to have a down payment for your home, that short-term account, that would be a great, that helps you to be able to, whatever that down payment is, that normally allows you to be able to qualify for a bigger loan if you're looking to take out a loan and buy your home. And so you can get a bigger home and be able to accommodate more of the different bells and whistles that you want in that home, okay? And then next up, the third fundamental account is your wealth building account, all right? And so with that one, The wealth building account, the purpose of that, the goal is for your retirement. So that's one, you think about your Roth IRAs, your 401ks, 403bs, 457s. If you have an employer that provides your retirement account, it's some version of that type of tax sheltered account that you have, okay? And so the question I always ask when I get there, and it's, as I said before, it's Roth, and I should have clicked that. So the question I always get to this slide is you think about not just your current employer, but your previous employees that you work for. Think about, do you have any money that's sitting in a retirement account with an old employer that no one's looking at, that you haven't looked at, all right? Why is that important? Well, I just showed you the rule of 72, and with the rule of 72, it's about the amount of time that you're invested. It's also about the interest rate that you're earning. So historically, most times, employers, they have a very limited portfolio of offerings that they offer as far as what you can get invest in through your employer. And once you leave that employer, if you roll that over into your own personal Roth IRA, you have more options as far as your investment options, the types of rates of returns that the funds are offering. And so it's something that you should definitely take a look at, because another thing with those employers, they normally charge you a fee or additional fees once you're no longer an employee of that employer. So that's something to keep in mind. And another cool thing about it with the Roth IRA, you can actually pull out up to $10,000 of the earnings of the Roth IRA without a 10% withdrawal penalty, plus all the money that you put into it. So you think about that. If it's made up to $10,000 of growth on top of all the money that you put in it, you take all that out towards your first-time home buyer's down payment. That's a cool thing. You think about that, plus you lump that on top of the short term. If you're doing a short term, you have money in your short term account. You think about what that down payment would look like on a home if you decided to do something like that. That's just an option that you have. And I actually took advantage of something like this when we bought our first home in Tallahassee quite a few years ago, back in 2007. And so I actually took advantage and pulled out some of my Roth IRA and actually used that towards a home down payment for our home. So it's something that's very feasible that you can do. So I did it, you can do it too, okay? All right, and so now we're gonna talk about figuring out how you're going to pay yourself first. You're probably trying to figure out, how much money do I want to put away? All right. So how much do I want to invest on a monthly basis? How much do I want to put away? So as you can see here, by the way this pie chart looks, the most important thing that we feel like they're all important, right? The emergency fund's important, the short-term fund's important, and the wealth building account, your retirement, is important as well. However, if you have an emergency comes along and you don't have an emergency fund funded, what are you going to do? You more than likely going to pull money from one of those other accounts if you don't have the emergency fund funded. But we want to avoid that. So we want to make sure we put the high priority on building that emergency fund, okay? So of whatever amount that you decide that you want to invest, you want to make sure that you lump about 50%, put 50% of that into your emergency fund. And then you put 25% of it into your short term, and then you put 25% into your wealth building. So take a round number like $1,000. Let's say you're going to invest $1,000 on a monthly basis. That means that 500 of that is going to be going on a monthly basis. It's going to be going into your emergency, 250 into the short term, $250 into your wealth building towards your retirement. Once your emergency fund hits the amount that you need to have your 3 months of income in there, then you can stop contributing to the emergency fund. You start putting more money into the short term in the wealth building. All right, but not until you've got your emergency fund fully funded. Once you got that short term fund fully funded with the 6 months that you want to have in there, you can stop contributing to that temporarily. You can add in additional information for the wealth building. Does someone have a question? Okay. Okay.
Yes, we do have a question actually. Thank
Okay.
you so much. This information is awesome.
Mhm.
So the question was, how do you get funds from your old employer?
Excellent question. So what you do is you actually you just you get with me, give me a call, and we do either what's called a direct rollover or a rollover. So a direct transfer or a rollover, okay? And so we call up your current provider, whoever was the provider for your old 401k, 403b at your old employer, and I help you walk through that process. It's a little bit different depending on whoever the investment company is that was handling those funds at that company. They have different stipulations, but it's normally either going to be a direct transfer where they can literally wire it from the old investment account into your new investment account, or they'll send you a check. And that check, you'll need to put that check into your new investment account within 60 days. All right, or else you'll have to pay taxes on it. So it's a very special way that you have to do it. But I help walk all my prospective clients through that process. So that's, you got my number, give me a call and I'll help you walk you through that, okay? But it's a direct transfer or a rollover, okay? Those are the two terms that you would hear used for moving funds from your employer into your own individual Roth IRA or traditional IRA account, okay? Great question. So, and moving forward, that's just giving you the breakdown of what that looks like as far as what you need to do. So as you're getting in your brain trying to figure out how much money do I want to invest, you can figure out what that breakdown looks like right there from this pie chart right here, trying to figure out, okay, how much, what do I want to do? Like, how much do I want to start with? And another cool part about it before I move on, when you sit down, if you sit down with me, if you do it's free, right? It's nothing that you have to lose by doing it, but I actually help you get your financial independence number. So you know exactly what the number is that you're shooting for to be able to retire when you need to retire. Like, how much money do you need to have invested and earn an interest for you to be able to retire and not have to work again, replace the income that you're making and still take care of all your expenses that you'll have in retirement and not have to work again. So that's your financial independence number. So if you want your FIN, you can FIN. If you want your FIN, you can literally just text me to my cell phone number and say, I want my FIN. Okay. All right. So that's cool.
Thank you, Mr. Mallory. We do have a question. Ms. Gibson, if you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure. Hi, my name is Tracy Gibson Jackson. Thanks for being on tonight.
Right.
I had gotten some advice from some folks saying that when you yearly when you get your raise or increase, I've heard friends say like you should take, like I have TIAA-CREF. They said, oh, you should take whatever your raise is and just kind of like put it over into your TIAA-CREF account. Do you agree with that? Would you recommend that?
Yes, if you're at a point where you're already what you're making currently before you get your raise is take care of all your expenses and you don't have any additional expenses, the best thing to do, you're literally paying yourself first if you do that. So, and you're already used to living at a lower standard of living, which is the best. Like they always say, live below your means. If you're trying to become wealthy, you want to live below your means and take any extra money that you make or find, you need to invest that money because that money's working for you at that point. So yes, I would agree with that advice to actually invest any additional raises or bonuses that you get at work. Just throw that additional money into the pot, whether it's a short-term fund or your long-term retirement wealth building account. Yes.
Thank you.
Great question, Tracy. My pleasure. Is there another question? I see or is that it? Okay. Oh, I see. Okay. So Bria, I'll answer your question at the end of this. I do see your question, so I will acknowledge that. Okay. So I got you. One moment. All right. So up next is actually it'll be a few minutes, Bria, but I will answer your question before this is all said and done. All right. So paying yourself first. So we're talking about the 3 fundamental accounts that is part of the discipline of being able to become financially independent. So with that emergency fund, you just want to put that in 100% of that into a money market account. It's not going to earn any interest. It's just keeping the standard rate of $1. So if you have a money market account, you can just open up a separate checking account at the bank that you do not touch. It's just sitting there. It's for emergencies. It's not for you to go out and pull money out of anytime. I like to say put it into a money market account, because with the money market account, you have to work like request to get the money out. It's not something where you can just go into the bank or just have a separate credit card for and swipe for it, right? It's something where you have to look like deliberately go and pull the money out. And this is for emergency. So you don't want to have immediate access. Okay. All right. And then the next thing is for short-term funds. So for your short-term fund, where it's for bigger expenses and so forth, where we want it to earn interest, we don't want it to just keep the standard rate. We want to be able to have that money working for you. We have a conservative allocation that we put in. We might put in something like municipal bond fund, where it's still earning interest. It's not just sitting there and it's earning better interest than you would get if you put it in a bank in a CD or something. So it's earning a better rate of return than you would get sitting in a bank. Okay. And then your wealth building account. Now that's gonna, in your earlier years, when you're pre-retirement age, you're gonna have that in growth funds because you want that money to grow. That's what the growth funds do, right? And so then once you get to retirement age, once you hit your retirement age, you're gonna switch and reallocate those funds into either income funds, or we're gonna do it into balance funds. With the balance funds, that's a mixture of income funds and growth funds, because you still want your money to grow, but you also want to be able to get funds or get income from your money in retirement. So some people that are a little more aggressive in their retirement, they still want to have their money growing when they're in retirement. We have balance funds that are a mixture of the growth aspect of funds and the income, where it's providing income for them in their retirement years. So those are a few of the things. The cool part about it, there's once again, a free service that I provide where I sit down and help you, ask you a few questions, and then I help you to determine what type of investor you are. So that's your investment profile questionnaire that I fill out for you, and help you to fill out. And we figure out what type of investor you are, and we can figure out what type of allocation will work for you, okay, based off of your time horizon and so forth. All right, and so a little bit more about the types of funds. So the second D is diversification. So I don't know if you caught on, I've been saying fund a lot. A lot of the people, one of the most popular questions I get asked is, what are my favorite companies to invest in? All right, there's no individual company that I'm interested in investing in. All right, because with diversification, the whole purpose of that D is to decrease your risk while you're investing, because investment does involve risk. Okay, there's risk, but when you invest, as long as you're doing it the right way, you're not going to lose if you're doing it the right way. All right, now it will look like you're losing. Like if you look at the market right now, the market's down year to date 20-something%. But the only way you actually lose your money when you're investing in the market outside, well, there's a few ways you can lose. But in the example with funds, the only way that you will lose your money if in the current market condition right now is if you pull your money out when the market's down. But that's not the principle that any of the wealthy people teach you. They don't say for you to buy high and sell low, all right? It's buy low, sell high, right? And so when the market's down, you ride it out, okay? And so right now, this would be a time that you ride it out. And actually, something that I always encourage all of my, any of my clients or prospective clients, even if you're not my clients, okay? So when the market's down, the best thing you could do, this is part of that first D with discipline. So you're taking your emotions out. So what you want to do is you want to treat it like a Black Friday sale. So how do you treat Black Friday sales? You think everything's on sale. Well, literally the best companies, all the blue chip stocks, all those different funds, they're on sale now. You can get them a lot cheaper. To date, the market's now like 20%. So that means you can get the same great companies for 20% off, and the market's going to recover. So you got a 20% off as long as you invested and continue to invest over time, as I'll show you in a later slide. And you put yourself in a position to where you're able to actually come out on a better end. You end up paying less for your stocks and yet still reaping the rewards from it. Okay. All right. So talking about, just give you a brief understanding of diversification, talking about a growth fund, it's not one company. It primarily consists of common stocks of several well-established companies. All right. This type of fund may invest for long-term gains long-term capital gains, which means that in the event, whenever you do actually go and start pulling money out of that, if it's not in the Roth IRA where it's tax-free and it's in a traditional where you will pay taxes, you actually are only paying your long-term capital gains tax as long as you've had it in there for longer than a year. All right. So, and disclaimer, I am not giving tax advice. Please verify all this information with your tax professional. Okay. I'm just letting you know a few of the things that I know about from my experience as a tax accountant and otherwise, but please verify this information with your tax professionals. All right. Secondly, income funds. So we talked about this earlier, give you a little deeper dive on the income funds. So income funds, they invest in corporate, government, or municipal debt securities, also called bonds. So you heard me saying, like, with your emergency fund or your short-term fund, we might invest that into a municipal bond fund, because that means that when you're actually, a portion of that money would be, the gains will be tax-free. Okay. Once again, verify that with your tax professional, but that is the case. All right. So just income funds, they produce income through the debts that's made off of them over time. And so one thing that we want to point out, talking about that, I want to talk about the inverse relationship that exists between bonds and interest rates. Since right now in the news, we hear a lot about the Fed raising interest rates, right? We've heard they've already hiked it once earlier this year. And then just today, they announced another 0.75% basis point hike today. All right. And they're expecting another one. Okay. So anytime that bond rates go up, or excuse me, interest rates go up, there's an opposite direction relationship with bond prices. So rates are going up, which means the price of bonds should be moving down. Like, we know that we're living in some weird times right now where stuff isn't exactly moving the way it is, but generally that's the case. So if you're in a position where you're looking for some income in the market, this may be a potential time where you want to look at some income funds if that's right for you based off of your investment profile. Okay. All right. And then the reverse applies. So once the Fed starts cutting interest rates, should they start cutting interest rates again, you can expect that the prices of bond funds or income funds, they're going to go up. Okay. So it's an inverse relationship between the bond prices and the Fed interest rates, the Fed hiking up interest rates. Okay. All right. And so that was another thing I wanted to point out. And then balance funds. So with balance funds, as I mentioned before, that's a mixture of both funds, the growth funds and the income funds, and it helps you get the best of both worlds. All right, like the R. Kelly and Jay-Z album, right? Best of both worlds. Yeah, whatever. So on to other things. So you think about another thing as far as why this is one of the most effective long-term investment vehicles is because it's not just you investing. It's a whole pool of investing, which is what this is over here. This is you and a whole group of people on the elevator. You're all investing together. So there's less risk involved there. You're not having to come up with all the money, which also means that unlike when you're trying to purchase, most times historically, when you're trying to purchase a stock, you had to come up with all the money for that stock. And you had to buy a whole round lot, which is like 1,000 shares of that stock. Well, in this particular case, through the funds and through mutual funds, you're pooling your money with the whole group of people. And we're putting that money with the professional money manager who's professionally managing your money, watching it on a daily basis, making sure that everything's moving the way that they anticipated. All right. And then in turn, once they manage your money, they're growing your money. That's this little arrow is showing them investing your money and then bringing it back and then coming back to you. Okay. And so what are they investing your money in? The professional money managers, they're actually investing your money into just a few companies. And just so you know, we're not soliciting for any of these companies to give you an idea of what types of companies your money would be invested in. It's household names for the most part, right? You're talking about like a Procter & Gamble, which is a company that deals with all those different brands you see below it. Febreze, Crest, Downy, Gillette, Tide. Anybody heard of any of those? And then over on the telecommunications side, you got companies like Verizon. You got consumer companies like McDonald's, technology companies like Microsoft, Dell, Apple, You got pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer. And then you also have entertainment companies like Walt Disney World, which owns all of the other companies that you see there. That's just a little sample, okay? The cool part about it, this is a question. Did you know that the typical mutual fund normally holds more than 150 stocks on average? That's over more than 150 individual companies that you have partial ownership to within your mutual fund, all right? That's literally, so when people ask me what companies am I looking at, or am I, do I feel like I'm hot on, or I feel like I'm bullish on, or and so forth, I'm like, there's not an individual company. I go with funds, all right? Because that increases my exposure, that decreases my risk. I'm still having a great rate of return that I'm getting that will still set me up for retirement and otherwise, all right? And so let me just take a pause real quick before I move into exploring this. Let me see.
So, hey, what's going on, Mr. Andrew? How you feeling today, man?
Good. How you doing, Mr. Davis?
Man, listen, I'm good. I'm good. The real reason, let me tell you something. I set up my IRA, my Roth IRA with Mr. Mallory. It took every bit of probably about 20, 25 minutes, 30 at the most, because we was laughing and joking during the process. And it was just like good energy, and it was a smooth transition. Listen, compound interest is the only way you're going to win. Compound interest. Listen, I don't want you to get caught up in a rhetoric that you don't really understand. We just happy that you're on a call, because once you start hearing it more than just once, it's going to become music to your ears, and you're going to say, it makes sense. It connects. And Mr. Mallory does a great way of breaking it down to you on a level where a 2-year-old could understand it. Pretty much. Listen, if you want a Roth IRA, to max it out, was it $500 a month?
Yep, 500.
But you can open it up for what is it, $50 a month?
Yep, $25 a month, or 20, as little as $25 a month. Yep.
I'm not telling you that you have to open it up for $500 a month, but I am saying it would be smart to open it up to get the ball flowing, and then you just increase it as time go on. The reason I tell you that is because, once again, if you have $100,000 and you put it in your savings account, the average savings account is only going to give you 0.7%. Average bank account. That's only $700 a year interest that they're giving you for holding $100,000 in your bank account. And what are they going to do with that money? Take it back into the market, invest it, and make a higher return off of your money. And then even when you ask the bank, hey, let me get all my money out right now, they're going to say, no, you got to come back in 2 or 3 weeks. We ain't got enough money in the bank. They're going to put you through the hurdles and the hassles. Am I saying don't have a bank account? That's not what I'm saying at all. But it does get to a point where you have to ask yourself, what is my bank doing for me? And what type of return are they giving me off of the money that I'm placing in their account that they invest into other investments that's bringing them a high return, but it's doing nothing for me? So now what you got to understand about Roth IRAs, or, different programs that Mr. Mallory may have, it may bring you, if in your savings account, your money's sitting anyway. Sit it somewhere that's going to bring you a return of 9 to 12% a year instead of I didn't say 7%. I said a 0.7% return. So listen, the more Mr. Mallory comes and visits us, the more we're going to understand. But more than anything, even though we want you to have a great understanding, I also want to tell you, get involved. And the sooner you get involved, the better. If you got a son, if you got a daughter, 5 years old, 6 years old, start them up the Roth IRA. And also he has a number of different products, whether if it's insurance or a number of different things that's going to help you long term. Because it's about that slow burn. You ain't gotta have no fast turnaround tomorrow, be a minute. This not no get rich quick scheme. This one thing I want everybody to understand: you're gonna get to a point in life where you're gonna understand that your money is there to protect you. It's not about the stunt. It's not about the let me get the Bentley, the Ferrari, let me get the let me get this new outfit or this new Fendi purse. It's about I need money. I need access to money where if I get in trouble, I can pull money and hire the proper attorneys. If I see a property that's going for a little bit of nothing, I can pull that money, invest it, do a quick turnaround, place the money back. But now I got a whole property that I got another income coming out of. It's about strategy. But you got to get started as soon as possible. And you don't have to get started with $1 million. You don't. Mr. Mallory said you can start with 25. Now you don't want to stay at 25. Don't get it twisted.
No, you
want to.
don't.
I think I started mine at somewhere probably about 200, probably 250, somewhere around there. But as time go up, I'm gonna boost it to 3, 4, 5. Look at what you spending on Starbucks today. I always tell people this: you spending every bit of $5, $6, $7, or whatever your other guilty pleasure is. You just got cigarettes. I'm not telling you to stop smoking. I'm not telling you to stop going to Starbucks. I'm not telling you to stop the little things that you're doing. But I am saying we have to regroup and prioritize where we could get a higher return. Well, when it's time for something to come up that may be beneficial, we have the finances to move forward.
Absolutely. Great ad, Don. Great ad, Mr. Davis. So to go along with that point, all right, the third D, the third and final D that I use for the basic of investing is dollar cost averaging, okay? So most of us, we're looking for a way, we're trying to time the market. Is the market at the bottom, all right? Is this the time to get in, right? The best time to start investing was the day you were born, okay? The next best time, if you're not already investing, is today, all right? And so the cool part about dollar cost averaging is if you're disciplined and you're very consistent in your investing, in the long run, you're going to win out, okay? In this example that we have here, this is going to show you why, okay? And so in this example, investor A, this is investor A, after I show you investor B, you tell me which investor that you want to be. Investor A, they invest $100 a month in a rising market, okay? So the market's continually going up, right? So you think, looking at that generally, like, yeah, that's great, right? And then investor B, they invest their $100 and the market's fluctuating, okay? Now, looking at that initially, which investor would you want to be? Would you want to be investor A, where you're investing over like $100 every month for 6 months in a rising market? Investor B. Initially, I said investor A, right? Well, no, you probably want to be investor B. Here's why, okay? Look at this. Here's the numbers. So over time, and like Don said, like I can break this down simpler and simpler. We can have one-on-ones where I can go back and see it. If it's not clear, we can go back and get it clear, okay? So one-on-one. So investor A, they invest their $100 per month for 6 months. The first month, their $100, each share is only $10. So they're getting $10 per share. The market's rising, so that means the cost of the shares is going up. So in month 2, each share costs $12. They're only getting 8.3 shares in the second month. The market's still rising, so the price of each share is going up. So we got $14 per share, 7 shares that they're getting in month 3, 6 shares in month 4, 5 shares in month 5, 5 shares in month 6. So at the end of the 6 months, in a rising market, they've only accumulated 42 shares, okay? Now, by applying the discipline that it takes and taking your emotion out of investing, regardless of what the market is doing, investor B, they invested their same $100, same 6 months, the market's fluctuating, going up and down, just like it's been doing lately, right? And so over there, investing the $100 first month, 10 shares, what they got. Market's going down, so in month 2, it's only costing them $7 per share. So now they're getting 14 shares. Month 3 is still going down. What did I say? Treat it like a Black Friday sale. This is why. All right. So back during COVID-19, when in the height of the pandemic, because I explained a lot of this to my clients, my prospective clients, I said, hey, when everybody's scared, and this is not me, this is Warren Buffett. He said, be greedy when others are fearful and be fearful when others are greedy. So right now, everybody's talking about recession, rising interest rates, inflation, everything else. That's a lot of fear out there, right? Uncertainty. And this is the time when Warren Buffett will be buying up a lot of stuff. All right. And so this is the time when you should be disciplined and still purchasing and investing, regardless of what all the talking heads on the news are saying, because it's a Black Friday sale. You're getting rock bottom prices. Look at the price per share. So it's going down then it starts to increase. It's recovering, which is what happens, okay? So over time, it recovers. But if you pull your money out here and stop investing, then you're just locking in losses and you only get $2 per share. You don't want to do that. You want to keep investing. And then you get to the point to where at the end of 6 months, you're disciplined. Instead of having only 42 shares, you've accumulated 126 shares.
So can I say one thing real quick, Mr. Mallory?
Yes.
So
absolutely.
this is, once again, compound interest is what makes the wealthy wealthy.
Yep.
I'm gonna tell you something. I read a book and there was a guy, he was like, well, how do I save money and I don't have money? But the guy was like, listen, this is what you do. And I say this story over and over again. He said, every check that you make, save a penny, then save a quarter. I mean, he was just going on, save whatever the case was. He was saying save something. And he said after a year went by, he would save. And the amount that he could save, it ended up being like $5 or $10. I'm just utilizing something super small, $30. I don't know. So he asked him, he says, how was it beneficial for you to save a small amount of money? And then at the end of your saving of that year, it only came out to be like $30. He said it was never about the saving. It was about getting into habits. And we got to get into better habits. So when the real money do come, it's smooth as pie. So one thing, I got into Bitcoin some years ago. And this one, Bitcoin was like $7,000 a coin. I thought that was a lot of money. And I think I bought like, I don't know, I invested for like $700 or $600 or something of that nature. And then during the pandemic, you know, I honestly forgot all about it. Honestly, I forgot all about it. It was a time when I needed some money. And I was like, man, let me see. No, it was my auntie. It was like, you know, you still got that Bitcoin. I said, I forgot all about it. So I checked my Coinbase account and it was like $1,000 in there. So not $1,000, $10,000 in there. So $600 or $700 because I didn't touch the money in about 2 or 3 years. And then remember, Coinbase went from $7,000 and shot up to $50,000 a coin.
Yep.
Well, I didn't touch it for the longest. So when time permitted and I needed it, it was there. So I got some great people on this call that has some amazing jobs and some great income. What I would tell you all to do is get you a Roth IRA or whatever, where it'll create an opportunity for compound interest. Even you got some life insurance policies out there where you can pull from. You got some people who got life insurance policies for life. You ain't supposed to be spending no $200-$300 a month or $1,000 a month for a lifetime.
We're gonna talk about that in a second, Don. We're gonna get them. We're gonna clear all that.
I'm sorry, man. Look, we got a few more minutes left. Go ahead. I apologize.
No. It's good.
Mr. Mallory, really quickly before you do finish, I do apologize, but we do have a question from Miss Bree. She had her hand up. I just want her to get her question. Miss Bree, please unmute yourself. Miss Bria. Okay, never mind.
So Bria, I think you had a question about IULs, which I did address. I said I was going to address that here shortly, which it is a great question, and I will provide my information at the end if for some reason we can't get to it. But I will have my information up again at the end, so you all can give me a call or you can email me. I will respond very expeditiously to make sure that all your questions are answered. Okay. So just real quick to wrap up the dollar cost averaging, okay? So with this part, you're looking at this, you see the amount of shares that you got, you see the importance of continuing to invest even in a fluctuating market, okay? Why you actually want to invest in a fluctuating market, okay? Because if you take a look at this and you look at the difference on the back end. So they both invested $600, but you see the shares that they have on the end. So at the end, the shares are worth $10 here for investor B, but he has 126 shares. That's $1,260 that he has a value. That's $1,260. Now on the other end, you're like, well, investor B, his shares are worth more per share. It's $20 per share. He only got 42 of them. So what's the 42 times the 20? That's 800 and what? 40? 840. Which market value would you rather have? 1,260 or 840? All right, so think about that. You definitely want the $1,260 and not that. All right. And then you on the other side, you get to pay less per share. This is the average share cost. This is dollar cost averaging. So this is why you want to take the dollar cost averaging and be disciplined and consistent in your investments and not look to try and time the market. It's not timing markets that makes you wealthy. It's time in the market that makes you wealthy. So buy and hold, okay? All right, and so then debt stacking was the other part as far as how we actually, it's another part of what we do. Another free service that we offer where you show you how to pay it off. I'm going to fly through it quick. I can break it down later in more detail one-on-one, okay? So in this particular case, this client or this example client, they have over 200, or they have 270 or $2,720 that they're paying in bills every month. You see that? Couple credit cards, got a retail account at Macy's or something, a car loan and a mortgage. All right. So we showed them how to get these debts paid off expeditiously, pay off the first debt, and then we don't take that money and go spend it elsewhere. We're putting that money towards paying off the next debt. So we take the extra $220 that we would have been putting towards that retail card now that's paid off. We're putting that towards the credit card and so forth and so on. And so we're doing that until all the debts are paid off. Okay. And so now you get to the end, you're able to make these extra debt payments. And so once all those debts are paid off, now you have an extra $2,720 that you can invest on a monthly basis. So I think it's a lot easier for us to be able to reach our goals if we actually apply that discipline and not just the investing, but the actual paying off of the debts. So what that looks like as far as numbers. So you're looking at the interest saved and the time that you would have, it would take you to pay things off. If you just pay off your payments, keep making your minimum payments as needed, you're talking about 23 years that it would take you to pay off those debts, and you would have no interest that you've saved. Versus if you use the debt stacking plan, the payoff plan, you pay it off in 9 years instead of 23 years. That's 14 years sooner. And the other cool part about it, you're saving $130,000, over $130,000, the free service, right? And so versus on the other side, if you just paid that as is over the 23 years, you would have paid over $214,000 in interest. Versus with the debt stacking plan, this particular client would have only paid $83,000 in interest, all right? And so we're talking about a monthly payment of $2,720. And on the other side, we're still talking about a monthly payment of $2,720, okay? And now to answer Bria's question. Bria, I didn't forget you, okay? So step 3 is protect your income, okay? So cash value, which goes by a lot of different names. So you'll hear whole life insurance, you'll hear universal life insurance, index universal life insurance, any type of life insurance that has a savings account attached to it is cash value. All right, it's just a different name for the same animal, okay? And so cash value versus buy term and invest the difference. So our company, my philosophy that I've adopted is buy term, invest the difference. And to be completely transparent, if I sold you cash value, I would make more money, but you would not be better off for it, okay? And so here's why, all right? So with the cash value, this example, this particular couple, John and Mary, they each have $150,000 in coverage, all right? And that's their death benefit. That's how much they're feeling or receive if something happened to them. The kids have no coverage, all right? and total protection for the family, $600,000 versus over on our side, they're getting over double the coverage, almost 3 times the coverage for each of them. That's 400,000 on each of them, 10,000 on the kids. And then that's a total family coverage of $810,000, right? And that 10,000 for the children, notice it says children over here, right? That's 10,000 for each of the children, unlimited amount of kids, right? I'm one of 8 kids. So my parents, they get 10,000, that's covering all 8 of the kids for $10,000, right? And so then you look at this, the monthly premium on this side, as I said before, I would make a lot more money if I sold you cash value, but your family will not be properly protected, and you'll be spending a lot more money than you need to spend. Monthly premium for this example, for this couple, $295 they'll be paying. This isn't even counting the money that you're going to need to invest, right? All right, so cash value at the age of 65 for this account. So you left this money in here, let's say that they're 35 years old, 30 years later, they've only got 124,000 to retire on, and that's it, right? And then on the other side, you only been paying on a monthly basis $126, okay? At the same time, you've invested the difference of, do you see how much you're saving on a monthly basis? $169, you invested that difference. That equals up to over $500,000 at 65, right? So you tell me how much money you want to have sitting in your retirement account when it's time for you to retire. You want the 124 or you want the over $500,000. So IULs and cash value, whole life policies, any type of name like that, they all fall into the same bucket. The crazy part about it is if they literally show you right in the paperwork when you fill it out, they show you exactly how long it'll be before you actually start earning cash value in your policy. And most times the first 3, in some cases 5 years that you're making these $295 payments, your cash value is at 0 for every single one of those years. Versus you start investing on day 1, your money starts going on day 1. You start earning that interest on day 1. All right. And so to answer, I hope that answers your question, Bria, as far as which is better. A term policy is always better. And you don't have to take my word for it. You can go and look up the videos by Susie Orman and Dave Ramsey, and they'll tell you the exact same thing, okay? Buy term and invest the difference. You invest that money, and it's not like you can't just have a term policy without the investment. It doesn't work that way. It's a combination. If someone sells you a term policy without the investment to go along with it, they're not doing a full job. You're not going to be set up once the end of that policy comes. And that all comes down to the theory of decreasing responsibility. And this will be my last slide, okay? And I'll just show my info after this. All right, so the theory of decreasing responsibility, why we say that you don't need to have life insurance for your whole life insurance, is because the way life works, you only need coverage in your earlier years when you have young children, high debt, and house mortgage, and you're also working to get your money, you're investing your money and make it to grow, right? And so when you're investing your money in your earlier years and you don't have the nest egg yet, the loss of your income, if something were to happen to you or another income earner in the house, that will leave your family devastated. And so by investing and having a proper amount of life insurance that replaces 8 to 10 times your annual income, I always say at minimum 10 times your annual income, that's the amount of life insurance you should have, okay? So if you make $50,000 a year, that's $500,000 in life insurance coverage you should have on yourself, okay? And so you think about that for a second. You're investing, you have your proper life insurance and coverage, term life insurance that's going to go away after a certain term of time, all right? And so it goes away, and once you get this little spot right here in the middle, that's when you're financially independent. That means that your investments and your coverage, they're interlocked. You're right at the same point, right? You got 500,000 in investments in this particular case, and then you got 500 in coverage, but there's no longer a need for life insurance. It's optional at this point. And so now in your later years, you've got your investments in place, your kids are growing, you don't have any expenses for them, your debts are paid off, you got your mortgage paid, the only thing you need is retirement income to sustain your standard of living. So in later years, you don't have a need for life insurance. Everything's taken care of. If you have $500,000 or $1 million sitting in your investment account, you don't need life insurance, but our company gives you the option to renew if you want to renew, but you don't need life insurance at that point. And so the cool part I always ask people is, what other life insurance company have you ever come across that taught you how to eliminate the need for life insurance? All right. So that's what we do. We teach people how to not need the products. All right, not need it the whole life. Okay. And once again, as promised, there's my contact information. My name is Andrew Mallory. And my email address is andrew.mallory, that's ANDREW.Mallory, MALLORY, at Primerica, that's PRIMERICA.com. You can also reach me on my cell phone. You can text me or call me at 850-590-5983. Again, that's 850-590-5983. So I hope I answered everybody's questions. I don't think I saw any other questions in there, but feel free. Take it away.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Mallory. We really appreciate all of this great information that you have given us this evening. You always do a great job when you come on the platform. It's been a great night. So we really appreciate everyone who is here with us tonight. So you guys go ahead, have a great night. And again, please talk to Mr. Mallory if you have any further questions. Everybody have a great night.
Night. Thank you so much.